Hey, Scott Gallagher here. Vision an environment where I'm working with you every day until you're completely rocking and you don't need me. That's the LMS Premium Agency Growth Group. Imagine a workday where I'm a partner, but you own all of your profits. A workday that is structured with goals and plans to achieve those goals. This is a 3-month intensive workshop intended to help you create and implement the proper systems to manage your growth. And you will make it happen, or I'll continue to work with you. But I'm also picky with who I work with. This program will provide a private coaching environment that provides accountability for you to accomplish what you need. This workshop applies to those with no experience in online marketing, as well as the experienced marketers. You just have to be ready to work hard alongside me. I'm confident that those that are accepted into the program will achieve success, as long as you're ready to put in the time. By the end of 3 months, you'll have all the marketing material that you need. You'll have a sales funnel with leads going in and out on a daily basis. And you'll have an operations department delivering the service. And finally, you'll have the time to manage your business, to work on it, not in it. Now, if you don't have this after the program, I will continue to work with you. So go ahead, watch the webinar that's just going to follow right now. I covered the 12 weeks of the intensive workshop to get everything done. And then go ahead and hit the apply button below. Take 20 minutes of your time and complete your application form now. Scott Gallagher here with Local Marketing Source, and this webinar I've got for you today, I'm very, very excited to present to you. Now, before I get started, we got quite a few people on the line right now. Just a little bit of housekeeping items. You can raise your hand at any point in time at the end of the webinar. I'm going to be asking questions, answering any questions that you may have. And you can also type your questions into the questions box. You can go and find that in your GoToWebinar software. Why don't you just tell me a little bit about where you are right now and whether or not you've got an agency, because today's webinar is about taking an agency and doing what a lot of Local Marketing Source students have done over the years and market their agency to a specific target market, or a niche is what we're talking about today. We're going through the 12 steps that LMS Local Marketing Source students have done in order to achieve the dominant position in a niche and capitalize off that. We could take a student like Josh Nelson. He dominates in the plumbing and the HVAC industry right now. He's got a $3 million agency. 3 years ago, he had 0 sales. Now he's got 20 employees, and how he's positioned himself as the dominant player. So let me know where you're at and a little bit about whether you've got an agency or, I see I've got Scott here, another Scott right on, and he deals in the dental industry. Efren does not have any niche, but has been in business for 3 years and deals with general businesses. We've got Nick, high-level consulting. Well, that's good. All right. Well, before we get going, a lot of you may know who I am. You may have been on my list for some time. Some of you are relatively new and whatnot. But just a little bit about myself. We'll spend 2 minutes here. I'm a father. I do a lot of writing. I like to get out and be an adrenalist, jump out of airplanes, do some snowboarding and whatnot. But I did spend a lot of time in university and got myself a Bachelor of Commerce with a specialty in marketing. And in 2005 is when I opened up my first business agency, and that was, now One Marketing. And in 2009 is when Local Marketing Source opened up with NapaRex. NapaRex is a delivery company. I'm a co-founder of that, but Local Marketing Source is why you're here right now. So we've been in business for 6 years. We've had thousands of students that have purchased products from us, and hundreds of students have gone on to build some pretty amazing practices and whatnot. And they've done that through the accelerated program for online marketers. Now, I like to speak as well and do different events like that. This is just a quick little video here. I want to get into some content. All right, you can watch this testimonial video anytime you want. It's just 7 or 8 different student stories of what they've gone through, and they like us. all right? But I know you guys are here for content and not to listen to a lot of this. So what we're talking about here today is going to be SEO for local businesses, services, providing search engine optimization to local businesses. This is the number one source. With all other mediums combined, there's no other medium that is more lucrative for local businesses than being found in the number one spot of local search for organic searches for your top keywords. When I say that this is going to change your clients' lives and providing this service, I think of one of my clients that comes to mind, Dr. Palak. In the first 12 months of having us, we've got a wicked testimonial from her. And she said that after 12 months of hiring Scott's business, we were able to get their second location. They're 60 days away from getting their third location and hiring their third doctor. The amount of time that she's been able to spend with her family has increased significantly, and she's been able to double her business and reduce her workload. What does every entrepreneur want? Well, when your clients are found number one on search, that's what's going to happen to them. This is a high value service that you're going to be selling and providing to these businesses. We're not talking paid search. We're not talking social media. We're not talking web development. We're not even talking search engine optimization. We're talking internet marketing that's going to get them number one results on Google. Yes, that's SEO. But the way we do things at Local Marketing Source is very different than most other SEO trainers that are out there. We are a marketing company. We do not optimize the internet for search engines. We provide and create good marketing that, as results, gets number one results, gets great reviews, et cetera, et cetera. You'll see some of that as we move on. Oh, I forgot I had this slide in here. But here's the exact quote from Dr. Palak that we utilize as one of our case studies in our agency. And we'll talk about case studies in a moment. All right. So I'm going to give you guys the opportunity to jump off this webinar right now, because this webinar is a 60-minute sales pitch. I know people don't like to be sold and people want to buy, but what we're looking at for the next 45 minutes as we go through with this is 12 steps. That's going to be a part of a 12-step program. But at the end of today's webinar, 45 minutes of your time, I hope that you are going to walk away with a full checklist. And whether or not you engage with us into the program, I hope that after today you're going to walk away with some value, and you're going to see the value of the program as well. And that's what I anticipate and I hope. If you don't get that, please jump off my list. Please jump off this webinar. My objective is to have everybody that's on the line walk away with something of value. So the very first thing that any business owner should do, whether we're talking for your agency or we're talking for a local business, should have a plan, a marketing plan. I can look to my left. Let me turn on my camera here. I wasn't prepared to turn on my camera, but you should be able to see me. I didn't shave or anything today. I'm not wearing the right appropriate clothes to be on camera, but I just look over to my left in my office, and I got my business plan here hanging. It's my business plan for 2015. It's actually, you see the screenshot there as well, and it's important to have. And if you don't have one, get one. And if you have one, don't have it in a file. Have it printed up and put it beside you so you can look at it and see it every day. And just take my advice on that alone. That one thing of just printing it up and having it beside you is enormously powerful. A business plan or a marketing plan, it doesn't need to be overcomplicated. And I can go through mine and I can see my email marketing strategy for 2015, my web marketing strategy, the involvement that I want to have with associations, or where I want to spend money in paid advertising, what I'm doing for direct mail. But that's the very first thing you should have, regardless of anywhere you're going. Now, because, like when I blow off the dust on my marketing books that I got in university, the very first thing that you open up and you see is something called market segmentation. And it really blows me away in the internet marketing world that these so-called marketers, the first things that they do have nothing to do with segmenting an audience. And if you're going to create marketing material and communicate with an audience, you've got to understand who you're talking to. And it's that simple. And so market segmentation is a process in the marketing process that is critical, and it's very, very important. Well, when you start to understand your segments, your market segments, and we can segment a market based off of hundreds of different factors, whether it's demographic factors like based off of age or geographical factors. What we're talking about here with your internet marketing agency is segmenting your audience effectively so you can communicate effectively with that particular audience. And if we say, oh, well, let's go after one niche. Well, I deal with the courier industry and the chiropractic industry. In the last year and a half, we've now retooled ourselves to deal solely, and not solely, but additionally in the chiropractic industry. Now, when I speak to chiropractors, I don't talk about their business, I talk about their practice. When I don't talk about their customers, I talk about their patients. I tell chiropractors my stories and my involvements, how chiropractic care has changed the life of my son and my daughter forever in big, big ways, of how passionate I am about that and how I want to help others. So I share my story, catering to them, knowing that they are between the ages of 30 and 50, the ones that I'm targeting, that they are highly educated individuals. I can't talk to chiropractors like I can talk to the truckers in the courier industry. I can't talk about smoking cigars and going and getting drunk at the bar. I've got to talk about the homeopathic event that I was at last weekend. So whoever you're targeting, when we start to talk about with our students, targeting a certain industry and whatnot, I'm going to show you a list of a small snapshot of different industries that you can go after. But there's 7 critical questions here that you have to have answered for every single one of these questions. You have to have an answer for the market that you're going after. And if you don't, get those answers now and get them figured out. Like, what is the average customer value? Right here. I know in the chiropractic industry, the average patient value is between $300 and $2,400 per annum. We find that the median of that, and you're about $1,200. So I know on average, every new patient that I bring my chiropractors is going to bring them about $1,200 in revenue. I know that their margins are between 50 and 70%, so I know that's going to bring them at least $600, but about $600 to $900 of profit is going into that chiropractor's pocket. So if I bring one new patient a week at about $800 on average a piece over a 4-week period, that's $3,200 of profit that I'm padding into the chiropractor's pocket. And that's only 4 new patients a month. Well, hell, if you're number one in a town of 30,000, you better be converting more than 1 new patient a week. But even on the small end, if I'm bringing $3,200 in profit, man, if I say, give me $1,000 right now and I'll give you $3,000 back, are you going to do that? Of course you're going to do that. You'd be dumb not to do that. That's the business model that we're talking about here, how you're supposed to grab $1,000 per client, $1,500. Josh Nelson's charging between $1,700 and $2,300. His average customer value is $1,900 a month. They stick with him for 14 months. You do the math. His customer value is over $25,000 a new client. And he can definitely show that. So you've got to know these questions here for your industry so you can speak their language to your segment, to your audience. Here's a list of just a few different target markets that you can go after. Every one of these is profitable. Chiropractors is in there. I told you I deal with chiropractors. Do you know that, what is there, 60,000 in the United States? If I pick up 200 chiropractic clients, that's going to bring me $200,000, $300,000 a month in revenue. I'm going to have a $3 million business. I'm going to be putting $500,000 of profit in my pocket every year. And I've only got 200 of them, 200 of the 60,000 that are in the United States. All right, moving on. The idea is to become the perceived leader in your market. You can have multiple perceived leaders that are marketing to different channels. We'll talk about that in a moment. But to become a perceived leader, say you have a book and you throw it down. I have a book that I throw down that says Internet Marketing for Chiropractors, written by Scott Gallagher, can be sold on Amazon or is sold on Amazon.com for $10. It's got an ISBN number and it's published. Do you think with that book, some chiropractor is going to look at me and go, yeah, I think he knows something about helping my practice. He's got a book about internet marketing for chiropractors. I got a website that talks to chiropractors and says, hey, Dr. Chiropractor, check out this video because your patients, when they're coming in for the RE, the Webster technique, blah, blah, blah. Do you think that they're going to want to go through it? And do you think that they're going to assume that I know a thing or two about chiropractic practices? Or for Josh and plumbers? Or for Scott and his dentists? It goes on. What is social dominance? How do you make a perception of yourself to be the dominant player on the social media side of it? It's a lot easier than you think. What the heck is an SOS email autoresponder? Bonus points to anybody that can tell me that. I'll talk about it in 10 minutes. But if you know what that is right now, what an SOS email autoresponder is, type it in. Direct mail. What are you going to do for direct mail? You know what? I spend about $8 to $12 per lead. So we target a town. I'll use my hometown, Crystal Lake, population 30,000, 37 registered chiropractors in that town of 30,000. 37 chiropractors. We go through and we use our process and we find and we refine the list down to 17. To those 17, the very first thing that we send out, I'll show you. I'll turn on my camera in a moment. Just let me grab this package. I'm going to turn on my camera again here. With those 17, we've identified and we send this out. It's just a manila envelope, handwritten to the doctor, not to the business, from me, not from my business. It's bulky. It's got weight to it because it's got my book in it. It's cost me $2.31 to print this book. They get this book. They see my picture on the back. They get a nice little letter. You're going to see this in a moment. Postcard, my picture again, maybe a handwritten message on the back, business card, and this is not the right DVD, but they get a DVD with my picture on it. And it says, hey, doctor, this is a chiropractic DVD to market your business. That's direct mail. Case studies, I talked a little bit about that. So that's what you're going to need, and we're going to talk about here. Now, in the 12-week program, the goal is to become the leader. And I'm going to spend the next 12 slides looking at those 12 weeks. These are step by step. This is also going to be your checklist. If you want to do this, this is what you've got to do. I've seen hundreds of students build businesses. I've seen dozens and dozens of people to build these niche agencies and change their lives. It works. Week 1, talked about building your marketing plan. Abraham Lincoln said, if I had 8 hours to chop down a tree, I'd spend 6 hours sharpening my axe. So you've got to set up your tools and set them up properly. Your CRM. You don't want to use a MailChimp software for your email autoresponder, okay? You've got to have your email marketing tied to your CRM. You have to. There's a whole bunch of reasons that I can get into, but I'm not here to get into that. You need to effectively track your clients in different ways. These are customers, not prospects. Actual customers that you're doing work, and there's different documents I'll show you in a moment. Your financials, if you're not set up, make sure you're set up. Your tools, you got to spend the right money on the tools. You can't be creating videos in a Windows computer, Windows laptop that's 2 years old, with 4 gigabytes of RAM and trying to use it now. You got to do it right. All right, week 2. You saw that, you saw that postcard. We're going to go ahead and create the postcard with you in week 2. In 1 week, we're going to build a niche-based website. We're going to build your business card, graphics and logos that you're going to create, and you got to have that. Week 3, SOS. Anybody tell me what SOS is yet? SOS, email autoresponder. This is something that you should absolutely have. When people opt in, they get the free content. You have a distribution of content. SOS stands for soap opera series. A soap opera never has an end. At the end of an episode, you hear it, and it's like, oh, what's happening next? So you create your email autoresponder. You see the example of mine here. We've got, day 0, day 1, 3, 7, 10, 14. It's got 13 emails in it. It goes for 2 months, 60 days as soon as they opt in. We're following branding principles, and you create that with the call to actions on it. Your webinar presentation. This is critical. This piece here, all right, this is how it works. You create your 60-minute webinar through PowerPoint presentation, roughly 20 slides. We'll tell you exactly what's important to have in there. You create it yourself and you start practicing it. You've got to practice it in front of a mirror. I know that sounds silly and you're going to feel uncomfortable. Other people may have told you this before, and I know almost every single one of you that are on the line have never spoken to your own self in front of a mirror. It is absolutely essential to do that. Do you know that we've got 3 ways to influence human behavior? And whether you're trying to go and get a date from somebody or trying to get laid or trying to get a sale in business, you're trying to influence somebody's behavior. And you got 3 ways to do that. You could say different words. You can use a different tonality in your voice. And you got a different physiology. And the fact is 93% of our ability to influence human behavior, they say, is nonverbal, right? Well, that's through our physiology and through our tonality, not through the words that we're saying. So even though I'm giving a webinar right now to you, you can only hear my voice and only see the words that I've written on the screen. You can't see me. I could throw on that webcam right now. As a matter of fact, I will. And you'll see exactly what I'm doing. Oh, see, that webcam was already on. You saw me. I got up and I was pacing back and forth because I'm moving. I do this because the movement, my physiology is conveyed through my voice, and you guys hear it subconsciously. So when you practice in front of a mirror, you're able to see yourself. You see yourself in a different way. It's almost like hearing yourself. You're very, very critical of yourself, and you are massively going to improve. So you practice your webinar, you practice your presentation over and over and over, and then you record it. You do it, and you visualize people in front of you. And you do your presentation and you record your audio as you go through it. You take that audio and you now are able to create a whole variety for $60. All right, fine. I don't care. I'll tell you the price. For $60, you could utilize my transcription service, and we'll transcribe that 1 hour of content for you into approximately 100 pages of a 6x9. Then we pay an editor to edit that. Another 3-4 hours worth of work, $50. And you now have somebody that's created the titles, the chapters, and a book. You now have between a 100 and 110 page book for a 60-minute webinar that you've created. You spend 2 or 3 hours of yourself tweaking it, and then you can get it published and printed. And it cost me $2.31 to print my book. That's how you're going to create a book in this program inside of 1 week. We're going to create your opt-in videos, 30 to 60 seconds. I got that cut off, but that's actually a 0 there. Your social media channels, obviously set up to create authority and follow branding principles. Your offline mailer package. I told you a little bit about this already. This is critical. $2.31 for my book, maybe 50 cents for my postcard, 25 cents for a business card, $3.25 to to mail it because it's a little heavier, it's about $7 or $8 times 17 people that I targeted, $200. It's cost me $200 to market to a town of 30,000 to 17 chiropractors, and I want one. And in that letter, it says, we've gotten chiropractors to number one before. Check these out. Check out these testimonials. Well, now marketing to your town. We marketed to 17 chiropractors. Everyone got my book. We're going to close one and one only. We're not going to take two. We can't take two because there can only be one chiropractor number one in Crystal Lake. Do you want to be number one? Blah, 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 blah. We're only in week 3, huh? You move on. After you've identified that, and you've taken that and you got your book published, we start to create a qualified lead list with you. I've been in business-to-business sales for 17 years, and I'll tell you one thing, that the 80-20 rule absolutely applies. 80% of salespeople spin their tires. 20% of salespeople bring in 80% of the sales. It happens. Maybe it's the 90-10 rule, but they're simple little things. I like to use the Avon story. Avon is in direct mail. They're in the business of direct mail, and they may send out 1 million pieces, okay? Well, they've got a fixed cost for them to send out 1 million pieces. Let's just say it's $1 million, maybe 50 cents for the piece and 50 cents for mail, whatever. Let's say it's $1 million. It's their fixed cost to send out 1 million pieces. And they know that there's going to be an open rate to that. Maybe 1% is going to open the packages. 99% maybe is going to throw it away. Once 1% opens up, a certain percentage is going to convert and actually buy, and the average sale of that purchase, there's going to be a number to that. So they know for a fixed cost that they're going to get a certain return on that. But if they can just increase the open rate of that envelope by 1%, amazing things happen. It actually, in turn, they almost triple their profit by influencing the open rate by 1%. Because you're going from a 1% open rate to a 2% open rate. You're doubling your open rate. But because you've got a fixed cost and you've got a conversion to sale, your profit margins are actually increased. So sales is a lot of that. That the more you know about prospects, the more you can speak qualified messages to them, and the easier it is to get their attention to speak to you, because sales is absolutely a science. You talk to enough people and you go through the process of knowing at each stage what type of conversion numbers you want, and as long as you're managing those properly, you're going to get sales. Most people miss that. And so spending the time into creating a qualified lead list that you work with is crucial. And every industry is different. Every geographical area is different. But that's what we want to do, is create qualified lead lists for you to begin working on. And that's what we want to accomplish in week 4. Week 5, you want to set up all of your templates. You know how I can't believe people spend an hour and 2 hours for every proposal that they put together. What the hell are you doing? If you want to spend 10 proposals, you got to be sending 10 proposals. If you want to get to the level that Josh works at, you got to have 10 proposals going out every week. Every week. You got to have 500 proposals go out a year. To get 10 proposals out, you've got to have 20 to 30 meetings. To have 20 to 30 meetings, you've got to talk to 50 people. To talk to 50 people, you got to make a couple hundred phone calls. So when you create a proposal, you shouldn't be spending more than 15 minutes, 10 minutes on a proposal. Get all the appropriate templates and have it plugged in. You hit a button from your CRM and boom, and you're ready to go. Then also in this week, we're going to send out the mailer packages that we've created. Now we're starting to sell by the 5th week. You're starting to follow up and book your initial meetings. Week number 2, we send out mailer number 2. That's going out in an express pack, but that only cost you 91 cents to send out through the mail in the United States. It includes their DVD. There's the DVD that I was trying to show you. With their letter, you see we've got the templates. It just pulls, all automated directly from the CRM. Because we're going to show you how we're going to feed the CRM with leads in a moment, and how those leads that are fed into the CRM go through the process, the autoresponders, get into your webinar, and ultimately are requesting call to actions for you to send them a proposal. Week 7. This is the week that you're going to get your first 10 meetings. Within 2 months of opening up a business, you could be rocking and rolling and getting revenues of $1,500 to $3,000. Also during this week, we begin the monthly marketing package content strategy for your agency. Every single month, you're going to have, I look at my plan next month, I'm doing a webinar on reviews for Google Local, a review acquisition strategy. We set up the monthly webinar. From the monthly webinar, we record it. What did I tell you before? We record it. We make a video out of it. That video is set up to YouTube, hosted. It's hosted on our blog. It's propagated through our social channels and input to our email. We create a podcast about it. You'd be surprised how many leads that come in through podcast. We transcribe it, which gives us a blog post, a written blog post. We create PDF images if possible, which are infographics that get shared through social channels. And it gives us a reason to email our audience. And with that reason, we can then turn around and give them invitations into our analysis, give them a replay of it, and once a month, and it's just a full cycle. By this time, you better have a couple of clients from these services that we're providing. And we're then going to go through the actual operations and delivering the service. And in this case here, these are the 4 most important documents that you're going to run in your agency. This here is a client 1-year marketing plan. The clients don't know it, but it's also a sales pitch to them. We'll talk a lot more about that during the program and how that works, but it's a 25-page document that outlines a 1 year of marketing for them, for their business. Stuff that they never even thought was even close to involved. How do they create case studies? You're going to help them create case studies. You're going to blow their minds when you start working with some of their patients and customers. Their execution plan. Well, I'll talk about the 3 pillars in a moment here, but at Local Marketing Source, through local SEO, we talk about the 3 pillars, and one of those pillars is citations. And with citations, this execution plan is going to say, all right, I'm just going to give you an example of a citation we're about to get for one of my clients, a cab company in Chicago. They're the oldest cab company in the country that's owned by a female. So we wrote an article on it, and it's going to be published in the Chicago Tribune. That's a pretty damn good citation, wouldn't you think? It's a national newspaper. Cab company is a pretty small one in Chicago, but they're going to get national coverage through mainstream media. I think the search engines are going to give a little bit of authority to that exposure. That's why we get our clients number 1. We're not just writing articles and slapping them all over the place, because I know what it takes to talk to the editors of all the newspapers. You know how many articles I've had in newspapers? Be amazed. We had an article for, this is one of my most proud ones. One of my writers wrote it. I reviewed it. I didn't do anything to the article. And we got it published in the American Dental Journal, as if it was written. I mean, the journal is what dentists read to learn about dentistry. So we were teaching dentists about dentistry. We did enough research. We created a good enough article. But holy shit, do you think that makes my dentist look good? Of course, it had her name on it. And it was about Fluoride. Yeah, it was about fluoride inside of toothpaste. It was that good. I mean, that's a heck of a citation. That's real marketing. That's not any of this quote-unquote SEO stuff that people are trying to teach you on the internet. The client profile sheet, the inventory of assets is my favorite document. This document's going to blow your clients' minds. We take a snapshot of every piece of marketing material they've ever done, whether online or offline, and we put it all together in an organized way, so we know everything that they've made. I've walked out of a client's office before with a box of newspaper advertisements that they've done over the years, and we're able to translate that into digital content and get authority for it. Week 9, we get into the implementation of all this now. We actually start implementing some of the stuff that we were talking about. Look at the month 1 of, this is the first month a new client comes in. What is the checklist with all that? What are all the things that need to be done? The execution of the quarterly plan that I've been talking about. Month 2 and ongoing. This is every month, forever. The implementation of the 3 pillars from local marketing source. The 3 pillars of local search. That's profiles, citations, and reviews. By the way, in the LMS membership, you can get in and get some of this content. There's about 7 hours of education material that talks about strategies on how to acquire effective citations and theme content and local content here. And reviews, our review acquisition strategy. This is something I implemented myself, and our clients and our customers and our students and their clients implement this, and it's flipping awesome. I mean, we're not violating any of the terms and conditions of any of the sites that are out there. We're getting email opt-ins for all of our clients with autoresponder series that are going out. It's just, they love it. It's brilliant. And we got so much control on where they're leaving reviews, and we're teaching our clients to find the heroes. I don't know if you've ever heard that term in marketing before, but you've got to establish heroes. Every business has got to have a hero. You've heard me talk about my heroes. Because I'm selling. What do you think I'm doing? I'm a business too. My heroes, Josh and Scott. I've got other heroes too. But every business has got to have their particular heroes, their case studies, their what's going on, what they're talking about, and so we identify who the heroes are in the business with our client, and we say, okay, these are some of your best customers. These are the customers that we're going to go after. And they've already said really good things about you. They already love you. They're already the raw customers out there, right, Mr. Dentist? Well, yeah. All right, those are the patients that we're going to go and find. And we're going to get them on video. They're going to love to get you on video. And we're not going to tell them what to say. We're just going to allow them to give raw testimonial. And then we'll edit that raw testimonial to get the best pieces out of it. Usually they leave between 5 and 6 minutes. I was going to say between 3 and 5 minutes. My bad. Between 3 and 5 minutes you're going to get as a testimonial. You chop it up and you get the best 30 seconds out of it, and it's raw 30 seconds. You build that, you get 5, 6 customers that put back together. You now have a 2.5-minute testimonial video for your client. It's awesome. Getting to our second last week right now. This is probably my favorite week because we map out all the different industry associations that you're working on and create your speaker profile package. You've got to have that, because once you get to the point that you're able to speak on stages and you go to these events, you're the hero. You can't go to the bathroom without somebody chasing you down trying to ask you questions if you spoke on a stage. Do you know what kind of feeling it is to have business owners that are running $50 million companies trying to find you after you spoke on a stage? Do you think you look like an authority when you speak on a stage? Well, guess what? Your speaker profile is going to have a lot of this marketing material that you've already created, because you've got a niche-based website, because you've got a book, because you've got the video, because you've got the distribution, because you've got the social media, because you've got all of this. These people want you on their stage. You're the expert for internet marketing for chiropractors or whoever you work with. By the way, I talk a lot about the chiropractic industry. You can definitely jump in that industry. But if you're going to learn from me, chances are we're going to go head to head, and I bring that on. Now, they represent about 0.001% of the businesses, at least in the United States, so don't fret. You can deal with flooring industry, florists, garage door openers, which, by the way, I've never seen anybody get into. And I'll tell you a little secret, that garage door openers is a bigger industry than plumbing. I had no idea, at least from their marketing budgets, the amount of money that industry has spent in the marketing. Go and pick up, Yellow Pages now are quite a bit smaller than they used to be. They're about 60% smaller. Yellow Pages are about 60% smaller than they were in 2009. But even if you pick them up, the garage door industry has got the biggest section in it. They've got the biggest ads. They're the guys that are getting full page ads to this day in the Yellow Book. That industry has not caught on board with internet marketing. It's kind of interesting, and I digress. And then we start talking about Facebook advertising. Shit. We spend about $2,000 a month at Local Marketing Source on AdWords, and I keep trying to find Facebook experts, and it's like everybody's still teaching AdWords, and Facebook has been doing advertising. There's a couple of guys like Dax Warren and whatnot that talk about it, but they're not specialized in terms of getting leads. And I've personally figured out how to generate leads to get into my system, to autoresponders, and talk to these chiropractors and eventually get them the material that they need, so I earn the right of authority. And there's so many different ways to target. Like, for example, I target schools. And I know people are pretty particular about their school. And so I say, okay, Logan University taught you how to heal the body, but it didn't teach you how to do this, ... Logan University taught you how to teach. Holy shit, if you see that into your Facebook feed and you went to Logan University and you said, well, yeah, Logan University did teach me this, but they didn't teach me what? To run my practice? I got to know a little bit about that. I click on it, boom. Here's a wicked webinar for chiropractors, and we're going to teach you everything about marketing your practice that we know for a fact Logan University did not teach you. How to get #1 on Google. Boom, I got an opt-in. I got somebody in my email autoresponder. Boom, I got somebody on my webinar. I got somebody to listen to me. I got somebody I can follow up with. I get enough of those. I'm going to generate leads. I'm going to generate phone calls. I'm going to generate business. About 42 cents a click, and it's costing me about $5 a lead to get on. It's about $200 a client in Facebook advertising I spend. I'll spend $200 to get a $1,000 a month client all day long. When my clients are not as high value as Josh's. His client value is about $25,000. Mine's sitting about a 16. But all 16 when we're running a 50 to 70% margin. Let's just say 50%. That's like $8 to $10,000 in my pocket. After everything is said and done and everything's paid, it's $10,000 in my pocket. I'll spend $200 on Facebook to put $10,000 into my pocket. And week 12, the last week, is managing your people. This is a blank slide because I know nothing about you and I know nothing about your business. All right, so this is the end, guys, of content. I hope that I've gotten quite a few comments here about good info. I'm happy to hear that because this is a sales pitch for a new service/product that Local Marketing Source is putting out. It's a 12-week program, as you know, and there's an application process to it. There's no cost to apply, but understand that the program's not cheap. It's a $5,000 program. We're only accepting 5 students. Only 5 students this time around. What am I going to do with those 5 students? I'm going to create 5 case studies. I'm practicing everything that I'm teaching because I'm coming back in December and going to open the doors to 20 students with 5 case studies for this program. When you get accepted into the program, it's $500 down and $1,500 a month every month for 3 months. There is a full 30-day money-back guarantee on that. Let's face it, I'll give you back your money if it's not for you. I don't want people that don't do anything. Now, a little bit about the program. You can see a link there at the bottom. Write that down. Go check it out. That's our application form. If you're not interested, just check it out to see what the program's a little bit about. You can go on our website and go and look at products and everything. This whole presentation, I'll show you guys in a moment. Well, no, I'll show you right now. You really didn't have to take notes, and if you miss those 12 steps, just go here. If you're not going to register for the program, or if you do register and don't get accepted, everything that we talked about is in here, okay? Here's all your 12 weeks and whatnot, and all the steps and everything like that. Now, with this program, there's nothing that's recorded. There's a few things that I'm doing different. You see, my membership right now, we've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students go through it. We've got about 100 students right now that are active in the program. They spend about $100, well, that's $97 a month to be a part of that program. They get access to 60 different videos. It's all recorded stuff, all pre-recorded stuff. Every Wednesday, I do a 1-hour call, and that's and then there's the private Facebook group. What's different with this is, like on Mondays, it's going to be a live class where I'm sitting down over the weekend and preparing the content. You see, students go through a rigorous questionnaire that I want to learn as much about my students as possible, because I want to be able to cater to them as much as possible. I've learned over the years, the more I've learned about students and the better my relationship is with them, the more I can give them advice, the more candid I can speak with them and say, listen, you've got to do it this way. And they'll speak for that. That testimonial video that I skipped over at the beginning, I didn't want to waste 2 minutes of your time to watch that. I've got case studies after case studies after case studies of our students that will absolutely support that. So these Mondays, it's going to be 3 hours, and it's not just lecture, 3 hours of lecture. Think of a 3-hour class in college or university that you've gone into, okay? You've got different activities that are involved, different group activities, and we've done different group activities at Local Marketing Source over the years that have worked very, very well. And so that's what's going to be involved and done on Mondays. Wednesdays is just going to be the regular call, and then on Fridays I'll have one-on-one sessions with each of the students. So I'm dedicating a lot more of my time. I'm going from about 4 hours a week dedicated to Local Marketing Source to 35 hours a week. My whole life is going to change with this program. If you don't produce the results in the first 3 months that we set up at the beginning of the 3 months, I got to get the results for you. I'll work with you. This is not a cheap program. The whole point is to get the goals. And then, like I said, you go to the Premium Agency Growth Group, and then you hit Apply. That actually just keeps you on our website, and this gets into my Infusionsoft software. And I had a new bit.ly link that I was supposed to update, and I made a mistake, and everybody makes mistakes. So I'm going to, in the group discussion, I'm going to put the link right now and send it to everybody. Okay, and if you put that new link in that I gave you, you'll see it forward right to the application. Either which way, whatever you did, I'm not going to lose the information. Oh, I see I got an LMS student on the horn here. I'm looking through the names. All right, so I'm going to open the floor to any questions. I did have some slides here that went through the LMS membership, because I am speaking with my public audience right now, not LMS members. I don't think I need to go through that. Christopher's asking if there's a replay available. What do you think? Should we give you one? I had recorded this prior, Christopher, different presentation. It's available on the product page. You can see that. And the LMS membership, like I said, is $100 a month to get access to over 100 different videos, different webinars. We have Q&A that's archived for like 3 years. And, you get access to the private group. You get your weekly calls. You have the student interviews. You have client hot seats that, we've created. These are all videos. Blah, blah, blah. You get lots of stuff. Here's one of our heroes that we're talking about, Josh Nelson. In 2010, he did 0. Last year he did 2 million. This year, 2015, he's on target to do 3. That's just a look at the portal. We can go in. All right, so let me update that. Oh boy. So as I had mentioned, the application is free. It's going to take about 20 minutes of your time to complete. We're approving people on Monday, so by Wednesday I'm going to need $500 if you're accepted. And I assure you there's only 5 students that are going to be accepted into the program. We will be opening it back up December 1st, 2015. And if you're on my list, chances are you're going to see the results of the students as we go along. So are there any questions, guys? I've already answered Christopher's question. All right. Well, thanks, Harry. I appreciate that. Harry says, nice presentation, Scott. 2 really good questions. He says, what CRM do you use or recommend? But the next one, does the client own the assets you create? I'm going to answer that one first. Harry, I have never been asked that question. And I'm very thankful you asked that question because that's really near and dear to my heart when I work with the clients that I work with. The fact of the matter is no matter what, they pay me to do some work, to create content for them. They own the assets that I create. They own everything that I create. They own Yelp, Facebook. That's why I create and utilize the inventory of assets. The inventory of assets that I give to the clients, we talk to the clients, we say, look, here's this is a collection of all the usernames and passwords into everything that we do for you. You own everything. Any SEO person that does not do that is, and I'm going to leave, I'm not going to say it because it's bullshit when they don't. The client always own the assets that you create. They own it, not the marketing company. Now, you're asking, what CRM do I use and do I recommend? I use the best CRM software in the world, hands down, Infusionsoft. It's not cheap, but it does a lot. So I unequivocally recommend Infusionsoft. It's listed at $300 a month. My students, I know we can get much cheaper than that. So if you're a student, let me know, and we're between $149 and $169 a month. And I know that sounds like a good amount, but it's your merchant service, it's your invoicing software. I used to spend, in my other company, I spend $25 a month for QuickBooks and $30 a month for Zoho. Zoho is another CRM software that I do recommend. It works very, very well. It's as good or better than Salesforce. You always get the paid version because I believe in the free version you can't utilize the marketing tools, which is autoresponders. I hope that helps, Harry. Thank you for your questions. You're welcome, man. All right, well, I'm going to go ahead and end this presentation. I don't have a lot of questions. I'm disappointed in that, you all, but maybe that's because I answered all of your questions already. That's what I got to assume. I hear my dog sneezing. I think she knows. I have my dog in the office, and she always comes in the office. And I did, and thank you. Well, you're welcome, Renee. I appreciate it. And I appreciate your guys' time too. I really do. I mean, I'll be frank. I mean, the fact is here is local marketing source has been a hobby of mine for 6 years. And I've spent 4 hours of my day, 4 hours of my week in local marketing source for the last 6 years. Of course, when I created 100 videos, it was a little more than 4 hours a week. I was 40 hours a week for 8 months, plus an assistant. But other than that chunk, it's just maintaining my current audience and speaking with them, and I really, really enjoy it. I'm very, very passionate about local marketing source. It gives me goosebumps when I get emails from people, thank you for this or thank you for that, or I've been able to do this because of your help. It's like I've been born to serve. I'm a servant in this world. I've realized that. That's who I am. And teaching has been some of my greatest joys. I was an English teacher over in Korea for a few years, and I loved it. And so this is a really exciting time for me. This is the first product. Local marketing source. I already told you the math. We don't bring in a lot of money. I mean, local marketing source. We've got close to 100 students, and we're charging $100 a month. Once a year, we do a promotion. So you guys heard that right now. Anybody wants to get into the membership, and if you're not a member, we'll get you into the promotional rate. It's a 50% discount. So we're bringing $6-7 grand a month in from local marketing source. It's a nice little bit of extra money, but it doesn't pay the bills. And so now I'm transforming my business, local marketing source, to spend the majority of my time in it, and that excites me in a big, big way. My agency, it runs great. It runs itself. I know exactly what's going to happen to it. It's going to stop growing. I change my direction. It's going to stop growing, but that's cool. I've been there before. But yeah. So thanks everyone for staying on the line and letting me share my story. I appreciate it. It's what my passion is, and without you guys, I would not have the opportunity to have this stage and this platform. So it's just been fantastic, and I can assure you that if you're not currently a business owner of yourself and you're working for somebody else, it's not for everybody. It's absolutely not for everybody. But I'll never, ever, ever go back working for somebody else ever again. There's just so many freedoms. You know what I did for the month of July? I was able to take 30 days off and leave my company for an entire month and get out of the country and go sit on a beach for a month in the middle of summer. And I'm going to take another 2 weeks off in winter and at least 1 week off in the fall when it's fall break, and 1 week off in the spring when it's spring break for the kids. So I'm working the same schedule that a teacher does. I'm taking off 2.5, 3 months of the year. I could never do that when I was working for somebody. Telling you, getting your agency in the right spot is a good lifestyle. So I'll end it on that, okay? Hopefully we've got some of you that have gone ahead and filled out that application form, and you'll hear from us. It's pretty neat when you do. If you want to see a good CRM in the works, go and fill out the application form and just put in the right email address and the right phone number, okay? But then it will call. I love it because the system calls you. If you hit 8, you can opt out of it automatically by federal law. You've got to, tell people that, and it's just awesome. We can see everything, everything that people do when people clicks, and it's great. Turns me on. All right, I'm gonna go. Talk to you guys later. Have a good week. Oh, one more. Harry says something about football team. Bless your football team. Always only plays 16 games. Another bonus. That's you can't miss football, man.
I didn't know nothing about football when I moved down to the United States from Canada a decade ago, and you can't not know anything about football living in Chicago. We know how poorly they play, but at least we've got a winning hockey team. But all right, guys, talk to you later. Bye for now, for real.
That concludes this Local Marketing Weekly Update, brought to you by LocalMarketingSource.com. This update is provided from the Local Marketing Source Professional Development Program for local marketers. Visit LocalMarketingSource.com for additional resources focused on online marketing for local businesses.